She was hoping, she said, if you decide that you want to be back with me, I'll come back and jump in your arms. No, I don't want to be with you. Good for you, OP.
My
Good for.
ex-wife lied about going on a vacation with her mother and aunt. They both lied to me. She was on a trip with their ex-boyfriend. I followed them out there and I told her we were getting a divorce. When I saw my ex-wife, it was like a deer in headlights. She was so scared and couldn't believe that I knew that she was cheating on me. Her mother, and her mother's sister were in on it. They convinced me that they all were going on a trip to Chicago to meet up with other family members to handle some family business. I knew something was up when the details about the trip were so vague, and actually, the mom and aunt had two different stories from what my ex wife was telling me. I never truly got along with my ex wife's mother in the first place. She was always a douchebag to me, my ex wife Michelle, her mother Sarah, and her mother's sister, Kimberly. They all lied to my face, and it's so funny that whole gut feeling thing. It's so true. I was sitting there thinking, this doesn't sound right, but I kept telling myself stupidly that they probably were planning a surprise for me. So, my birthday was coming up. Michelle wasn't going to be there because she was going to be on this trip with her mother and aunt. I figured they were tricking me. Maybe they were going to throw me a surprise party. That was just wishful thinking. I didn't believe that my ex-wife was up to any good, and I went snooping, and I found information. I discovered this before she left for her trip, that she was going to meet up with her ex-boyfriend, the one that I beat up years ago because he kept stalking her, begging her to come back. Now, I'm not the type of person that'll just beat up someone because I'm some simp or whatever, but this guy threatened me and got in my face, so I had no other choice. He pretended like he had a weapon on him, but he truly didn't have anything. I beat the crap out of this guy. I'll get into the details. Where do I start? So, my ex-wife Michelle, my name is Robert. I met in 2019. I met Michelle while she was with her mother, Sarah. It was in a Kroger parking lot. I saw her shopping inside a grocery store, and I tried getting her attention, but I couldn't tell if she was ignoring me. She had dark shades on. I was trying to hurry up and get my things because I saw she was getting ready to leave. She left out before me and I fell behind, but I was pretty far back. This is going to be awkward, but I really wanted to talk to her. She was attractive with a perfectly round Wagoneer. If you know, you know. I was happy we were parked in the same lane, and I was catching up to her. I just yelled out, "Hey, wait! Excuse me!" She looked back, but she looked very bothered. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm about to look like a creep. She says, "Yes, I dropped something." I said, "No, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I completely thought you were somebody I knew. I was wondering why you were ignoring me, and now that I'm closer to you, I realize it's not you. This is so embarrassing." Michelle says, "It's okay. You have a wonderful day." I stop her from leaving and I ask, "I'd love to get to know you if that's okay though." Michelle starts laughing and says, "Wow, so this is all part of your plan. I don't look like someone you know. Be honest with me. Don't lie to me." I told the truth. I said, "Absolutely. I really wanted to talk to you. I was trying to talk to you in the store, but you kept walking away." Michelle says, "Yeah, I actually heard you loud and clear all 3 times. I just kept walking away because I honestly didn't feel bothered. I'm a little tired. I just got back from yoga class. I needed to come in here and get some fruit and water and head home." I said, "That's fine. Well, before you head home, can I get your number, call you sometime, take you out?" Next thing I hear is, "Uh, Michelle, we need to get going." I look up, and it's her mother, Sarah, yelling from the driver's seat. Michelle had rolled with Sarah. Michelle looked back at her and said, "Mom, I'll be there in a minute." 1 second. Her mother says, "You are recently divorced. You don't need to be talking to anybody else right now. You need to be getting your life together. Get in this car now." I was thinking, damn, why her mom put her on a spot like that? I have Michelle's phone in my hand and I quickly put my number in there. I said, "Give me a call whenever you get time." "No rush." Michelle smiled and said, Okay, I'll shoot you a text. Now, her mother was kind of stretching it a little bit by saying that she was recently divorced. It had been 2 years, but from what I've learned, I probably should have never dealt with Michelle in the first place because she was a divorced woman. I'll tell you guys more about our conversations that should have been red flags in the first place, but her mother was a piece of crap. She never really liked me. Everything I did for Michelle was a problem. I helped Michelle pick out a new car. I didn't buy the car. I just went with her to the dealer and I helped pick it out initially. I remember her mother loving the car, but when she found out that I picked the car out for Michelle, her mother all of a sudden couldn't stand the car. Why did you pick that color? Ew. I don't know about this one, Michelle. A complete 180. I looked it up on Google, and these cars have transmission issues. All types of stuff. It was the funniest thing, and it was so obvious. I remember looking at Michelle and then looking at her friend, and they both agree that her mom was being a douche, and she just couldn't stand me. It's almost like her mom was just a jealous person. This right here is a red flag. I remember her telling me how her mother cheated on her father when she was in middle school. Michelle told me that she was for sure that her mother was cheating on her father. I don't know if she actually saw her mom with another guy or what, but she said she was for sure. Anyway, one night her mother didn't come home the entire night. She came back in the morning, and Michelle's father threw all of her clothes and belongings in the driveway. There was a huge argument. Michelle told me she went to stay with her aunt and eventually came back home and they were back together. Michelle told me that if it wasn't for her and her brother, her father would have left home a long time ago, but he stayed for the sake of the kids. Forget that, man. I'm not staying with a woman that treats me bad for my kids. I can still take care of my kids and not be with the mother, but I guess that's just how that man thought. Oh, well, not my issue. Michelle and I started talking often after meeting at Kroger. We started going out having a good time and really getting to know each other, and we hit it off really well. I really liked her. Outside of her mother not liking me, I like everything about her. She was awesome. So obviously, eventually Michelle and I got serious and we were in a monogamous relationship. This is when I learned about this ex-boyfriend that she later cheated on me with and probably was cheating on me with before. So, this guy was stalking her. He was questioning her friends on Facebook, reaching out to her parents, cousins, friends, anybody, so he could figure out what Michelle was up to. Michelle and I never really went on Facebook to claim each other, not until we got married. Some people on my friends list didn't even know I was in a relationship and was surprised that I was getting married and had all types of questions for me. How long have you known her? How long have you been with her? I guess I can't really call them friends, but they were my Facebook friends. And a couple exes had some questions too, but it was none of their business. Anyway, Michelle discovered that he was following her with a fake account on Facebook, trying to keep tabs on her whenever we'd go somewhere. We took a ton of pictures, of course shared amongst each other and share it with family, but we never really posted anything with each other on Facebook. But one time we were in Arizona on a mountain and she took a video of the scenery and you can hear me talking in the background. Apparently, he was questioning her friends and family about who she was on the trip with. This guy was freaking weird. I guess he had nothing going on in his life. He was stalking her, trying to figure out her whereabouts. Dude, there's way too many women in this world to be focused on one person. According to Michelle, he cheated on her twice. She took him back the first time because he begged and cried, but the second time, she walked away, and he's been stalking her ever since. According to Michelle, he's a complete douchebag. He'll be good for a moment, buying her things, treating her right, being romantic, but then he'll become a douchebag and talk to her crazy and complain about her leaving the house dressed a certain way and things like that. She said she couldn't handle it. He'd pour out his insecurities into her jar, projecting. Often, she said, she knows he's probably cheated more than the times that she caught him. He just got away those other times. That's what Michelle told me. I never really asked her ex-boyfriend if he actually cheated on her. But I want to ask you all, have you ever met a woman that didn't blame the failed relationship on the ex-boyfriend or husband? I've never met a woman who said my last relationship ended because of me. Never in my life. Women cheat all the time, but for some reason it's never their fault. It's something he did wrong. Tell me if I'm lying, guys. So while we were dating, this was about 1.5 years after we met at Kroger. While we were dating, we went out one night, had an amazing time. Went to a bar, then went to a different bar after that. Shot some pool until it closed. But we were shooting pool. She told me she didn't want to tell me this because she didn't want to ruin the night, but that her ex-boyfriend had been following us. I looked at her and said, "What? What are you talking about, and why wouldn't you tell me this? Where is he? I never spotted this guy. I've seen him before, so I've seen pictures of him, but I didn't really realize that was the guy who was at the bar." When she pointed him out, I said, "Yeah, that is him." She said she thought it was a coincidence that he was at the bar, and she ignored. He didn't come up to her to say anything, but now that he's here, she thinks he's following us. Could have been, I don't know, or maybe he was just jumping bars because the bar was open later. A lot of other people from that first bar came over to this bar, but who knows? I admit, I had some liquid courage. I approached this guy. I walk up to him and I said, "Hey man, you got a problem?" He looks at me and says, "A problem with what?" I said, "Why are you following us?" He said he wasn't following us, and if I'm smart, I'd walk away. Now in my head, that told me that he probably was carrying. We stay in an open carry state, and my common sense told me to just back off and just let him know to leave us alone. That's what I did. He proceeds to call me a bish. Soft ash bish, you don't deserve her. He's scared to fight. I told him I was not afraid to fight him, but if he has a weapon on him, then he has one up on me, and I don't want any parts of that. Any real person with common sense would walk away from that type of battle. He lifts up his shirt and shows his waist and taps his pockets, takes his jacket off and says, "I don't have a weapon on me. I do damage with these here fists, buddy." I walked back towards him and proceeded to beat the shoes of him. Yes, he was barefoot on the ground, and somehow his shoes came off. The bartender is screaming for me to leave. I go grab Michelle, and she has the biggest smile on her face. We leave the bar. Michelle was so happy. I actually wasn't that happy. I'm not the type of person that just wants to go around beating up people. Yes, I'm all for self-defense and everything, but actually I felt bad afterwards. Like I really beat the crap out of this guy. Michelle was just so happy. She told me to pull into the alley, and she proceeded to have her way with me. Me beating up her ex-boyfriend just turned her on. Michelle did get a text message from an unknown number the next day that said, "I see how it is. You lead me on, get me assaulted, then block my number. Karma will get you." I told Michelle that's clearly her ex-boyfriend texting her from a different number. What does he mean? Block the number and you lead him on. What's going on here? Michelle says she has no idea what he's talking about, if that's even him. I said, "Who the heck else would it be? Call the number." Michelle refused to call that number, and she says, "I just want all of this to be over. This is stressful. Last night was scary. You could have gone to jail. I don't know why he wants to stalk me. Maybe it is him. Look, I'm deleting the number. I'm blocking it." She deleted it. I told her to go to her deleted messages. She went into her deleted messages and there were a ton of deleted messages. I said, "What are these?" She quickly deleted all from her recently deleted messages. She got upset saying, "Let's not do this. He's gone. I'm sure you beat him bad enough that he'll never come back." I stupidly let all that go. I didn't do any investigating, or I didn't question her more like I should have. She clearly had been leading on her ex-boyfriend, but here's the thing. We hadn't had any issues in our relationship. Sex was great. We got along very well. We didn't stay together, but we practically did. If she wasn't staying at my house, I was staying at her house throughout the week or on the weekend. We went another 6 months before Michelle was asking me about marriage. Of course, we talked about it a lot prior, but something in me just wasn't too sure I loved her. I thought I did. I thought, well, maybe it'll be a good idea. Boy, was wrong. So, Michelle and I got married. I proposed to her at my place. It was a few days before Christmas. It was snowing and we were sitting in my living room, and she convinced me to put up a tree with lights and everything, and I decided to do it. The plan was to propose on New Year's Eve. We actually married the following April. Yeah, really fast, and it was a pretty large wedding. Her family and my family. Guess who wasn't happy when she found out Michelle and I were getting married? Sarah. Sarah told Michelle she was making the biggest mistake of her life. She's already divorced, and she needs time to heal. She had gone through so much with her previous marriage. Her previous marriage was not with her ex-boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend happened after she divorced. She dealt with that guy for some time, but like I said, he cheated on her and she eventually left him. Well, that's the story she told me. Her ex-husband was long gone. I believe he had moved to California or something for some job. But anyway, we get married, and Michelle's mom, Sarah, did not want us to marry, and my mom was not happy about that. My mom did not know what her issue was. It was something about me. She didn't like, I remember Sarah saying that it was weird that I didn't have children. So I'm 36 years old and Michelle's 31. Neither one of us had children. Sarah will tell Michelle that it's a red flag because I didn't have children. I purposely don't have children. I never wanted children unless I was married. If I wasn't going to get married, then I was never going to have children. I always stood on that. Her mother just gets on my freaking nerves, that fat, sloppy, four-eyed bitch. She's a complete asshole. Anyway, Michelle and I were married for a year and a half before this trip. September of 2023 was the trip to Chicago. Like I said, when they were telling me all about this, I just felt weird about it, and I didn't trust it at all. During the marriage, Michelle didn't give me any reason to think that she was cheating on me or even still talking to her ex-boyfriend, the stalker that I beat the crap out of. Once they all told me about this supposed trip, I did some investigating. So here's the truth. Sarah, Michelle's mother, and her sister, Michelle's aunt, went to Chicago. Michelle was never to go with them to Chicago. Michelle was in Texas with her ex-boyfriend, the stalker, the one that she couldn't stand, the one that cheated on her twice. When it comes to women, everything is in that phone. For years we were dating, engaged, married. I never went through her phone. Never went through her emails, Facebook messages, never once. But the time I decided to do so saved my life. I found out that she was going to Texas with this douchebag of an ex-boyfriend that she couldn't stand. He paid for her flights and he rented out a house for them to stay in. Very nice house. I will say I was pretty impressed. I saw everything leading up to this fake trip to Chicago. I let my wife sit there and lie in my face. I knew she was lying. I went and saw a lawyer and got things rolling, but they were leaving in 3 days. Not that I would have kissed her. I was wondering how this was going to play out, and maybe she would think that I caught on to what she was up to, but she didn't kiss me goodbye. She waved at me even leading up to the day. She was leaving. She didn't want to be intimate. I, of course, didn't either because I didn't know if she was actually cheating on me. So, here's the thing. I didn't know if she was sleeping with him, but I remember her complaining to him in the messages about how I don't want to go on trips. She needs to get out of the house. He was telling her how she didn't have to worry about that with him and how he can't believe that she never married him. But there was no proof that they actually were sleeping together, but every once in a while they would talk on Messenger and occasionally on the phone. He got a little spicy sometimes. Just on his end. It was definitely inappropriate. The fact that she was hiding this from me said a lot. Now at the end of the day, Did Michelle go to Texas to have sex with her ex-boyfriend? I can't confirm that. What I do know is that she likes to drink when she's out. Actually, on her Facebook, she has a quote that says, "I go crazy for tequila. I'm sure you all know what type of 304 would say that." Sad. I ignored red flags like that. She allowed a man to fly her out, and she stayed in the same house as him. The chances of them sleeping together are very, very high. I took my flight down to Texas, and I had the address to the house. I remember looking up the address before I even got on my flight. When I was sitting in the airport, and I was so impressed with this house, it basically was a mansion. This guy went all out for Michelle. He wanted to impress her. Swimming pool and everything. When I landed, I went straight to the house. No one was there. I rang the doorbell, knocked, nothing. I couldn't tell if the car was parked in the garage or what, but no one was there. This wasn't like a mega mansion that was gated. It was just a really, really nice house in a really, really nice neighborhood, but no one answered. I was sure this was the house and even had the keypad on the door. I figured this was the exact house I knew for sure. I was confident, but no one answered. I decided to call Michelle when I got into my car. She answered. I said, "Hey, how's the trip going?" She says, "Oh, Mom and my aunt are back at the hotel." I decided to come out and have a drink. I told her it was so loud, and I said, "Who are you out having a drink with, girly?" She says, "I'm by myself." "I'm okay, you know I can fight. No one's gonna mess with me." I said, "Get on FaceTime with me." She says, "Really, right now?" I look a mess. I said, "You look a mess, but you're out and about." She replies, "Well, who do I have to impress? You're not here." I hung up the phone and I FaceTime her. She actually answered outside. "What are you doing?" "I thought you were in a bar," she says. "I am silly. I won't be able to hear you if I sat in there." I said, "We were just on the phone." "I heard you clear enough." She says, "Oh, I just didn't want to yell too loud. What's going on?" "I'm just going to have a drink." I said, "You tell me where you at. What's the name of the bar?" I quickly saw the sign right there on the door. She noticed it too and turned and said, "Some bar here near our hotel. Look, I'm going to finish my drink and I'm a walk back to my mom and aunt. I'll call you when I get back to my hotel." I said, "Really?" She freaking hung up on me. I couldn't believe it. I drove straight to this freaking bar. It was about 15 minutes from where I was. I walk in and I'm just looking around in room. I see my wife and her ex-boyfriend that I beat the crap out of laughing, having a splendid time. I walked up to their table. My wife jumped up. She was so terrified when she saw me. She jumped out of her seat and ran towards the bathroom. I chased after her and I stopped her. Then here comes her ex-boyfriend. He wasn't tough at all. This man had a fear all in his eyes. He was so scared. "Look, man, we don't want any trouble. We're just having a good time." I said, "Sir, you do not have a good time with another man's wife." This man looked down at the floor. He knew better. He knew the type of damage I could do with my hands, unlike him who claimed that he could. I looked my wife in her face. I held her chin up and I said, "You don't need to explain anything to me. Just know that we're getting a divorce. I hope it was all worth it. Have a nice life." I walked out, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is blowing my phone up. Text after text, call after call. The last text I got from her was weeks later stating that she understands why I want out, but if there's a small part of me that wants her back, she'll gladly return to me. Today I'm divorced, and I have no intention on getting back with her.
She was hoping. She said, "If you decide that you want to be back with me, I'll come back and jump in your arms." No, I don't want to be with you. Good for you, OP. Good for you. Look, man, yeah, you did ignore some things. You did ignore some things, but like a lot of people that write in, including myself, made mistakes. We've all made mistakes, man. The thing is, you have to learn from the mistakes. You know what I mean? You did good, man. You divorced her. You knew you should have divorced her. I noticed something you said. You said she talked about marriage and everything. You said you weren't sure that you loved her. It feels like you didn't really want to get married. She kind of pushed you towards it. You know, guys, don't do stuff like that. You know, you already know how I feel. I don't believe in marriage. I'll never ever get married. Ever. I don't. Mm-mm, mm-mm. But man, if you guys decide you want to get married and stuff, just if you don't love the person or you don't feel like you love them and they're not treating you right and their mother's a douchebag, you know, you have to consider all that stuff. Seriously. Consider all that, man. Don't just jump into a marriage because she wants it. Oh, if you don't marry me, I'm going to leave you. Bye. You know, you can't force somebody to do something. Guys, if you want to send in a story, send it to truestorynation@gmail.com. Here, I'll put it on the screen. That's truestorynation@gmail.com. I'm going to catch you guys at the next one.